in the next videos, so these we have to actually find. I have to actually find the ratios first. I want to see if I can find my ratio. Dang it, I lost the ones I was using earlier. Oh, here we go. Remember, I always have this handy because this tells us which ratio is being used in the diagram. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do to these, instead of these question marks, I'm going to make them all, choose a letter you like and then change them all to that letter. I'm just going to use B simply because it has that hump in there, and I can hide that question mark behind the hump. So I made all of mine B. You can make them whatever you want, any letter, doesn't matter. So now that we got the letter there, I know this is the hypotenuse because it's across the 90-degree angle. And then I know this side is adjacent to angle B. It's right next to it, okay? Adjacent hypotenuse, that's cosine. Okay, so watch how the equation sets up. I know cosine of the angle is equal to the ratio adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, now I want B to come out by itself because really that's my answer. That's what I'm looking for. The question mark. Okay, so I want to get rid of cosine. The only way we can get rid of cosine is if we use cosine inverse. Okay. So cosine inverse, cosine cancel, B comes down, and this guy you type in the calculator. I think I've showed you enough in the calculator, so I'm not going to show you that one. But it's 37 divided by 57, and then you get 49.5. Type this in the calculator for yourself just to verify that you get that number. Otherwise, again, I mentioned this in one of the class periods. Some students didn't, the only thing they were doing wrong was typing it in the calculator wrong. Don't be that student. Okay, learn how to type it in the calculator. Which is not a big deal, but it's a silly mistake to miss. So again, let's move on with this one. Here's our angle. This is the hypotenuse. I'm not going to write it in because I don't have any info there. But I know this leg, which is 20, is next to angle B. That must be the adjacent leg. And then the other leg that's way over here is the opposite leg. Opposite adjacent, you should think tangent. You should think the tangent ratio. So then I'm going to write tangent of angle B is equal to the opposite leg divided by the adjacent leg. And then again, I want to get B by itself. In order to get B by itself, I need to get rid of this tangent. And the only way I can get rid of tangent is by using the inverse. And what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side. Tangent inverse of 10 divided by 2 is 26.6. I'll let you guys see that one. Let's move on to number 9. Oh man, you guys couldn't see that. Why don't you guys tell me? I'm just playing this video. So let me do number 9 then. If I'm going too fast, so you guys always pause this. You can always pause it and take time. But let's do number 9. Let me make sure I'm in the right focus. Okay, there we go. So again, here's the angle, the right angle. I know that's the hypotenuse. I don't have any info about the hypotenuse, so I'm not going to use the hypotenuse. So that tells me this side here is bottom, and it's next to angle B. So that's the adjacent side. This is the opposite side. Opposite because it's across, and then this one's adjacent because it's next to B. That's tangent. We just used that one over here for number 8. That's the tangent ratio. So I know tangent of angle B is equal to the ratio opposite over adjacent. And again, we want to get B by itself. And the only way we're going to get rid of tangent is by using the tangent inverse. Tangent inverse cancel. We're going to be left with B. This guy we're just going to jam in our calculator. And we get 35.5. And all of these are degrees. I haven't been putting the degrees in them because you'll have a hard time putting the degrees in Canvas, so I'm not even going to ask you to put it in Canvas. So let's move on to number 10. So number 10, again, here's my angle. I do have info about this guy, which is the hypotenuse. This side that's down here touches angle B, so this is the adjacent side. This one must be the opposite side. Opposite hypotenuse, you should think sine ratio. So I know sine of angle B is equal to the ratio opposite over hypotenuse. But again, we want B by itself. The only way we're going to get B by itself is if we take sine inverse of both sides. Sine inverse and sine cancel. We're left with B. Type that in the calculator. Sine inverse of 28 divided by 34. Push enter, and we get 55.4. Yeah, let's just see that one also. 55.4. Pause it if you need to pause it. Roach is on a rampage. He's moving on. Here's our angle. I have info about this guy. That one's the hypotenuse. This is next to B. That's the adjacent leg. Okay. That's the adjacent leg. Adjacent hypotenuse, that is cosine. So we know cosine of angle B is equal to the ratio adjacent over hypotenuse. We want B by itself. The only way we're going to get B by itself is if we use the inverse of cosine. Cosine inverse, cosine cancel, B's there. Type cosine inverse into the calculator. Let's see if you guys can see that. Cosine inverse, 16 divided by 23. 45.9. $45.9. 12. Last but not least, here's angle B. That's the hypotenuse. We don't have any info about it. I'm not going to write it in. 21, the side that's 21 is next to B. So I know that's the adjacent side. 6 is way over here. I know that's the opposite side. Opposite, adjacent, you should automatically think tangent. Tangent of angle B is equal to the ratio opposite over adjacent. Now we want B by itself. That shouldn't be a surprise, right? So we need to take the tangent inverse of both sides. Again, after seeing me do this a whole bunch of times, that should also not be a surprise. And how I type it in the calculator should not be a surprise either. $15.9. The only surprise should be is that we don't do more. I'm done.